The grand halls of Astris Prime shimmered with energy, a brilliant mix of lights and sounds from across the galaxy. Delegates of all shapes and sizes filled the space, their colorful attire and unique forms a testament to the diversity of intelligent life. For Dr. Elena Voss, humanity's representative, it was both an honor and a challenge to stand among them. It was Earth's first appearance at the Interstellar Resource Summit, and the pressure to make a good impression was immense. Dr. Voss adjusted her sleek black uniform, a symbol of Earth's scientific and diplomatic progress. Beside her, a holopad displayed the Earth Federation's goals: partnership, collaboration, and mutual understanding. She whispered to herself, "You've trained for this. Just be yourself." As the summit officially began, species from across the stars mingled, trading introductions and discussing their unique cultures. Elena found herself drawn into a conversation with a group of corvi, an insectoid species whose bright exoskeletons reflected light like polished gems. They were known for their intelligence and curiosity, and their many eyes blinked rapidly as they spoke. "So, human," one of the corvi clicked, its mandibles twitching. "We have heard much about your advancements, but there is one question we are desperate to ask." "Of course," Elena said, smiling politely. "I'll do my best to answer." The corvi's voice buzzed with excitement. "Your reproduction. Is it true you still rely on physical processes and live birth? We thought such methods were extinct." Elena froze for a moment, caught off guard by the bluntness of the question. Around her, other nearby delegates turned their attention to the conversation, their alien expressions ranging from curiosity to confusion. The room grew quieter as more beings leaned in, eager to hear her response. "Well, yes," Elena began, clearing her throat. "Humans reproduce sexually, which involves a combination of genetic material from two individuals. The result is a child who grows inside the body of the mother until birth." A ripple of reactions spread through the crowd. The corvi tilted their heads, their antennae twitching in disbelief. A tall, crystalline being, an ambassador of the Morsai, let out a sound that resembled a deep hum. "How primitive," it said, its glowing body flickering with disdain. Another species, a floating mass of bioluminescent tendrils, chimed in. "But why? Surely your technology is advanced enough for cloning or spore propagation. Why stick to such an inefficient process?" Elena felt her cheeks flush, but she straightened her back. "Human reproduction may seem inefficient to you, but it's part of what makes us unique. It creates diversity, adaptability, and emotional bonds, traits that have helped us survive and thrive." The delegates exchanged glances, some intrigued, others skeptical. The corvi, still buzzing, muttered, "Fascinating. Truly fascinating." As the conversation spread, Elena realized this was no longer just small talk. Humanity's very nature was under the microscope, and the galaxy had just begun to ask questions. The conference room buzzed with an energy Elena Voss had not anticipated. What started as a casual question from the corvi had spiraled into a full-blown debate. Delegates from nearly every species present were now crowded around her, their voices overlapping as they peppered her with questions about human biology. "Are you saying the entire process depends on direct physical contact?" asked an aquatic being whose translucent body rippled as it spoke. "Well, yes," Elena replied, trying to maintain her composure. "And the offspring grows inside one of the parents." "That's so inefficient," scoffed the crystalline Morsay ambassador, its angular body shimmering like a disapproving gemstone. "Excuse me, but it's not inefficient," Elena said, folding her arms. "It's a natural process that allows for genetic diversity. It's one of the reasons humanity has adapted to so many environments on Earth, and now beyond." The Morsai emitted a deep, resonant hum that sounded suspiciously like laughter. "Adapted, you say? While the rest of us evolved beyond such primitive methods, humans are still stuck using biology instead of technology for reproduction." Elena clenched her fists but kept her tone calm. "Biology and technology aren't mutually exclusive. We've advanced our understanding of genetics and medicine, while still valuing the natural processes that make us human. The Corvi ambassador, who had been listening intently, leaned forward, its multifaceted eyes glinting. Fascinating. Do the offspring emerge fully formed, or do they require further development? They require care after birth, Elena explained. Human infants are born vulnerable and need nurturing. But that bond creates deep emotional connections within families and communities. It's one of our greatest strengths. A collective gasp spread through the crowd. One delegate, a glowing orb of energy known as a Fasari, vibrated with surprise. You mean to say, you willingly expend resources on individuals who cannot immediately contribute to your society? Yes, Elena said firmly. We do. Our system ensures that every human has a chance to grow, learn, and contribute in their own way. It's how we've built our civilizations. The room fell into a strange silence, save for the faint hum of alien devices. To many of the species present, such practices were unthinkable. Most reproduced through methods that required minimal effort and guaranteed immediate functionality. The idea of spending years nurturing a single offspring was both baffling and, in some cases, horrifying. Suddenly, a large reptilian being with gleaming scales let out a hissing laugh. You humans are either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish, it said, to put so much faith in such an uncertain process. Or incredibly adaptable, Elena countered, meeting its gaze. As the discussion continued, Elena began to realize that this was about more than just biology. To the other species, humanity's methods symbolized an alien way of thinking, one that valued unpredictability, vulnerability, and connection. For better or worse, humanity was unlike anything they had encountered, and Elena wasn't going to let them forget it. The buzz surrounding Elena Voss only grew as the summit progressed. Word of humanity's bizarre reproductive methods spread quickly through the delegates, sparking intense curiosity and heated debates. By the next day, Elena found herself at the center of attention again, this time in a formal presentation chamber. She stood before a holographic projector, surrounded by alien representatives of all shapes and sizes. The Corvi sat in the front row, their antennae twitching with anticipation. The crystalline Morsai loomed near the back, glowing faintly with skepticism. Even the Fasari and their radiant orbs floated silently, their energy fields pulsing with interest. Elena inhaled deeply, steadying her nerves. "Thank you all for your curiosity," she began, her voice firm but friendly. "I understand that humanity's methods of reproduction seem strange to many of you, but today, I hope to show you why these methods have made us who we are, and why they're far from primitive." With a tap on her holopad, the projector came to life. A rotating 3D image of Earth appeared, its blue and green surface glistening under simulated sunlight. "This is Earth, our home," Elena said. "It's a planet of extremes, scorching deserts, freezing tundras, dense jungles, and vast oceans. Over millennia, humans have adapted to every corner of this world, and one of the key reasons for our success is genetic diversity." She gestured to the hologram, which shifted to show a family tree branching outward. "Our reproductive process allows for the mixing of genetic material from two individuals. This creates offspring with unique combinations of traits, increasing their chances of surviving in unpredictable environments." The audience murmured as the tree transformed into a simulation of humans facing various challenges: harsh climates, disease outbreaks, and predators. The humans in the simulation adapted, their descendants growing stronger with each generation. A delegate with glowing tendrils, an Eldari, raised a question. "But why go through the trouble of creating and raising offspring? Why not simply clone the strongest among you?" Elena smiled. "Cloning creates perfect copies of what already exists, but perfection can become a weakness in a changing environment. Genetic diversity gives us the flexibility to survive new threats. For example," she tapped her holopad again, and the hologram displayed a human cell fighting off a mutating virus. "Our immune systems, shaped by this process, have helped us overcome diseases that could have wiped us out. A wave of interest rippled through the crowd. Even the Morsai leaned forward slightly, their crystalline forms refracting the light. "And there's more," Elena added, her voice growing stronger. "Our methods create something beyond biology. Connection. Raising children requires cooperation, empathy, and community. These bonds have driven our greatest achievements, from building civilizations to exploring the stars." For a moment, the room was silent. Then, the Corvi ambassador clicked its mandibles. "Intriguing. So your primitive methods are not just biology. They are strategy." Elena nodded. "Exactly. We may be different, but difference isn't weakness, it's strength." As the murmurs of agreement grew louder, Elena felt a flicker of pride. Humanity might be unconventional, but they were proving to the galaxy that their way of life was anything but primitive. The debate about humanity's reproduction methods had reached a fever pitch. Delegates argued in hallways, at dining tables, and even during formal discussions. Some saw humanity as a fascinating anomaly, while others dismissed them as relics of evolution. Elena Voss, however, stood firm, refusing to let her people's reputation crumble under ridicule. It was during one particularly heated discussion in the main chamber that the crystalline Morsay ambassador rose to its full height, glowing with disdain. "You speak of adaptability, human," it rumbled. "Yet words prove nothing. Your methods are inefficient and outdated. Show us evidence, if you even have any." Elena's eyes narrowed. She glanced at Captain Aaron Malik, Earth's military diplomat, seated nearby. Malik was a sharp thinker with a talent for bold moves, and he gave her a subtle nod. That was all the encouragement she needed. Elena took a step forward. "Evidence. Fine. Let's settle this with a challenge." The room erupted with murmurs. Challenges were a common way to resolve disputes in interstellar diplomacy, though they were rarely used to prove biological superiority. The Morsay's crystalline structure shimmered as it hummed, clearly amused. "A challenge, you say? What do you propose, human?" "A test of adaptability," Elena said, her voice steady. "Create a simulated environment, one that shifts unpredictably with extreme conditions. Each species may send a representative to survive and thrive in this environment. We'll see which system truly proves superior." The murmurs grew louder. Some delegates looked intrigued, while others seemed skeptical. The Corvi ambassador raised its antennae in approval. "An excellent idea. This will be most enlightening." The Morsay tilted its head, considering. "And what is the wager?" Captain Malik stood, his presence commanding attention. "If humanity wins, Earth gains priority access to the Erythraean trade corridor," he said, naming one of the galaxy's most lucrative trade routes. "If we lose, we'll concede our claim entirely." A ripple of shock spread through the room. The stakes were enormous, and Elena felt the weight of Malik's gamble. But she trusted him and humanity's resilience. The Morsay's glow pulsed brighter, a clear sign of amusement. "Very well," it said. "We accept. Let the galaxy witness the outcome of this primitive gamble." Preparations for the challenge began immediately. The simulation chamber, a massive dome equipped with advanced technology, was programmed to create an unpredictable alien ecosystem. It would feature extreme temperatures, mutating pathogens, scarce resources, and sudden environmental changes. Elena and Malik volunteered to represent humanity, confident their teamwork and determination would make a difference. Other species sent their champions, each boasting of their unique adaptations, spores that could spread instantly, crystalline forms immune to heat, and photosynthetic organisms that needed no sustenance. As the delegates watched the competitors prepare, Elena overheard one alien murmur, "The humans are brave, but bravery alone won't save them." Elena smiled to herself. Maybe not, she thought, but adaptability just might. With the galaxy watching, humanity was about to show what made them extraordinary. The simulation chamber loomed before them, its shimmering energy field casting eerie shadows on the gathered crowd. Delegates from across the galaxy filled the observation gallery, their eyes and sensory appendages fixed on the competitors stepping into the artificial environment. Alina Voss adjusted her gear, a mix of lightweight survival tools and monitoring equipment, while Captain Aaron Malik checked the straps on his oxygen pack. "Are you ready for this?" Malik asked, his voice steady. Alina nodded, though her stomach churned with nerves. "Ready as I'll ever be. Let's show them what humans are made of." The chamber's interior was a masterpiece of alien technology. It could replicate any condition imaginable, and the test was designed to push every competitor to their limits. The environment began with an oppressive jungle, its air thick with humidity and filled with alien plants emitting faint glows. The first challenge was immediate. The plants released spores, designed to latch onto any biological material and cause rapid allergic reactions. The Morse ambassador's representative, a crystalline being named Thriss, moved through the spores unaffected. Its crystalline structure was immune to the organic threat. A gelatinous competitor from the Climary species simply absorbed the spores without harm. Alina, however, pulled a scarf from her pack, wet it with water, and wrapped it around her face. "Filter the air," she said to Malik. "The spores are light but organic. They'll stick to moisture." Malik quickly copied her, and the two humans pressed forward, while the spores harmlessly clung to their makeshift filters. The next phase transitioned into an icy tundra. The temperature plummeted rapidly, and frost formed on the competitors. Thriss thrived here, its crystalline body refracting the cold into harmless light, while a reptilian competitor from the Vorak species began to falter. Alina and Malik, however, were prepared. "Layer up," Malik said, pulling an emergency thermal blanket from his pack. The humans wrapped themselves tightly and used small heat packs to stay warm. Alina smiled as she noticed other competitors struggling. "Humans evolved to adapt to extreme cold," she whispered. "We've survived ice ages before." As the tundra gave way to a desert with searing heat and blinding sunlight, competitors began to drop out. The gelatinous Climary began to dry up, and the Vorak collapsed from exhaustion. Alina and Malik, though drenched in sweat, pressed on, sharing their water reserves carefully. "This is nothing compared to the Sahara," Malik quipped, earning a faint chuckle from Alina. The final phase was the most dangerous. The environment shifted to a toxic swamp, the air filled with poisonous gases. Alina's mind raced. She spotted an alien plant filtering air through its roots and quickly led Malik to cut a section. They used the plant as a makeshift respirator, adapting on the fly. Above, the observers watched in awe. Humanity's resilience, creativity, and teamwork were on full display. As the simulation ended, Alina and Malik stood exhausted but victorious. They had proven one undeniable fact. Adaptability wasn't just a skill for humans. It was their greatest strength. The simulation chamber powered down, its harsh landscapes dissolving into shimmering light. The competitors stood motionless, catching their breath as a low hum signaled the end of the challenge. One by one, the defeated champions were teleported out, leaving only Alina Voss, Captain Aaron Malik, and the crystalline Morse champion, Thriss, standing. Above them, the observation gallery was alive with chatter. Delegates whispered in disbelief, their expressions a mix of awe and confusion. The humans had not only survived the gauntlet, they had thrived. Alina wiped the sweat from her brow, her hands shaking with exhaustion, but her spirit unbroken. She glanced at Malik, whose calm demeanor masked his own fatigue. "Looks like we made it," he said with a faint grin. "Barely," Alina replied, though her pride was evident. The Morse delegate, glowing with faint frustration, stepped forward. "Impressive," it said, its crystalline voice reverberating. "But surely you realize survival alone does not prove superiority. What exactly makes your methods worth such effort?" Alina took a deep breath, stepping into the center of the chamber. "It's not just about survival," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "It's about how we survived." She gestured to the holograms replaying key moments of the challenge. The audience watched as she and Malik crafted makeshift solutions to each obstacle: filters for the spores, blankets for the cold, water rationing for the heat, and the plant respirators for the toxic swamp. "We don't have natural armor like the Morsai," Elena continued. "We can't regenerate like the Klimari. And we're not immune to environmental changes like many of you. But what we have is adaptability, born from millions of years of facing challenges on Earth. Our reproductive methods create diversity, and with diversity comes creativity. Every problem we face today was solved because we think, we adapt, and we work together." The room fell silent as her words echoed. Even Thriss, who had been undefeated in past challenges, remained still. Malik stepped forward, his commanding tone breaking the quiet. "This is why humanity is different. Our systems might seem messy or primitive to you, but they've given us something unique: unpredictability. We're not bound by fixed traits or limited by cloning. Every human is different. And that's our greatest strength." The Corvi ambassador clicked its mandibles excitedly. "Fascinating. You mean to say your imperfections are what make you strong?" Elena smiled. "Exactly. And it's not just biology. It's who we are. Humanity isn't perfect, but perfection isn't what wins. Resilience, adaptability, and ingenuity do." The delegates murmured again, but this time the tone had shifted. Even the Morsay ambassadors seemed to consider her words. After a long pause, Thriss inclined its crystalline head. "Perhaps we underestimated you, human. There is value in unpredictability. You have proven your worth." The declaration sent a ripple of approval through the gallery. Humanity had not only survived the challenge, but had also reshaped the galaxy's perception of them. For the first time, Elena felt the weight of their victory and the potential it held for Earth's future. The summit hall erupted in applause, or the alien equivalent of it. Delegates waved tendrils, clicked mandibles, hummed vibrations, and flashed glowing patterns, each in their unique way of showing respect. Elena Voss and Captain Aaron Malik stood side by side in the simulation chamber, their exhaustion masked by the pride radiating from their faces. The Morsay ambassador's crystalline glow shifted to a soft, respectful hue. "You have demonstrated not only the adaptability of your biology, but the resourcefulness of your spirit," it said. "We underestimated humanity. You have earned the right to the Erythraean trade corridor, and our respect." Elena bowed slightly, the weight of their accomplishment sinking in. "Thank you. But this isn't just a victory for Earth. It's proof that diversity in thought and approach is valuable in ways we're all still learning to understand." The Corvi ambassador clicked its mandibles enthusiastically. "Indeed. Your chaotic methods may not make sense to many of us, but they work. Perhaps we can learn something from your unpredictability." Delegates murmured in agreement. Humanity, once dismissed as a primitive newcomer, had shifted the narrative. As the applause faded, the Thesari, a being of radiant energy, floated forward, its voice resonating like music. "Humans, your journey is young, yet your impact is undeniable. Your kind reminds us of something we had forgotten. Progress is not always linear. Sometimes it is born from chaos and imperfection." Elena and Malik exchanged a glance. They had come to the summit to secure Earth's place in the galactic community, but they were leaving with much more. Later that evening, in the quiet of their quarters, Malik leaned back in his chair, staring at the stars beyond the viewport. "We really did it," he said. Elena smiled, pouring herself a cup of tea. "We did. But this is just the beginning." Malik chuckled. "You think the galaxy's ready for more of us?" "They'll have to be," Elena replied. "Because humanity doesn't stop at survival. We push boundaries. We innovate. And now that they've seen what we're capable of, they'll start to see us as equals." The next day, Earth's delegation received a flood of invitations. Species who once mocked their methods now wanted to collaborate, curious to learn more about humanity's ways. Scientists from the Corvée proposed joint research on genetics. The Eldari expressed interest in studying human emotional bonds, and even the proud Morse offered to share advanced crystalline engineering techniques. As the summit concluded, Alina stood at the podium for a final address. To everyone here, she began, her voice filled with determination. Humanity's strength doesn't come from being the best at one thing. It comes from being adaptable, curious, and united. We are not perfect, but we embrace our imperfections because they drive us to grow. And now, as part of this great interstellar community, we hope to learn from all of you as much as you've learned from us. The hall erupted into applause once more. Humanity had taken its first bold step into the stars, proving they were not just survivors, they were pioneers. And as the delegates departed, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never underestimate humans again.